Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of the Brewgooders on Comics Cast. Jeff is my name and his name is Colin, and that was another completely shit intro. How are you doing, Colin? You right?
I'm good this evening. It's evening here anyway. Don't know where everybody else is joining us from. I think it's kind of mid-afternoon or something in the States.
I thought we got our time zone last week as well. Like I thought we were GMT, but we're GMT plus 1 apparently.
British summertime.
Yeah.
For what that's worth.
Yeah. So this week we are going to we've managed to get a couple of really awesome guys coming to join us again. So we're just going to talk with Rob Jones and Adam Falp, who are both really prolific in the British comic scene, and I thought it'd be really interesting. As I say, Comics Cast is a predominantly American viewership, so we thought it'd be really interesting just to kind of focus in our sort of home isles. and so I'm going to just introduce Rob Jones just now, because we were just talking to him before air, and we're going to learn a little bit about his work, including his current Kickstarter. So you should there he is. Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
So
hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Like I say, very good. Again, summertime, British summertime has been nice. To be fair, today it's been good. It's been cool. I've liked it. You know what I mean? More of that.
So have you been working today? Have you been doing anything?
Do you know what I've been doing? I've been doing lettering today. Actually, I've been doing lettering all day on something for a group called Ovation Comics. They're really cool. They've done loads of stuff via Kickstarter and stuff like that. One's called Battle Royale Planet, which was recently funded. I've been working on Infinity Agents 2, kind of a superhero-y sci-fi Men in Black kind of mix-up and stuff like that, which has been really cool. So, been enjoying that. But yeah, like I say, most of the day I've been chained to the laptop, lettering. Got out with the dog earlier, so that was nice. But yeah, that's been my day.
Awesome. Straight back down to earth, doing kind of ordinary stuff. Yeah, one day you're painting the house, next day you're drawing a comic. You know, that's kind of.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is it. You know, so like I say, I mean, it's just fitting stuff around. So I've just moved house as well in the last week. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so like the last week has been a bit crazy, to be fair, because there's been like comic projects I'm lettering. Obviously, the Kickstarter that I'm co-running at the moment as well. There's been that. So there's been all sorts of stuff kind of on the go. And I work like a normal day job, you know what I mean? And stuff. Yeah. I do support work for adults with learning disabilities and mental health problems and stuff, you know what I mean? So
amazing.
Fitting it all in and being family man and everything else can often be challenging. But, you know, you do these things because you love them, you know what I mean? So
yeah, both of us can totally relate to all of them.
Yeah. Struggling a wee bit today, like. So you mentioned there your current Kickstarter, and I think that's maybe a really good place to start.
Okay.
What is the project you're working on that is on Kickstarter as we speak?
Okay, so we've got 48 hours left to go, and the project's called Hell in Stalingrad. Now, it is a pulpy horror Second World War comic set during what was known as the Kessel, which is the time when the Soviet Sixth Army were encircling. Not the Soviet Sixth Army, sorry. The Soviet Army were encircling the German Sixth Army. Thank you. There we go. Basically, the whole premise is there's a German commander who decides to turn to the occult to try and help them break the Kessel and break out of Stalingrad. You can see the awesome cover there from PJ Holden, 2000 AD artist and battle tanks artist. The interior art's by a pair called Russell McEwen and Will McLaughlin. And they've done an incredible job. And then it's written by myself and a gent named Matt Hardy, who runs under Mad Robot Comics, which you can see there in the top. I'm looking left, I think. Yeah, top left kind of side of the screen. and stuff. And so, yeah, it's a horror story, and it's a horror story set within the horror of one of the worst battles of the Second World War. You see, so yeah, we've done. I won't lie, it's blown all of our minds. To be fair, how well it's done over the last month. We set our target for £2,000 or £2,000. Sorry, we're just short of 10,000 now. Well up into the 500 or so backers, which is incredible, and yeah, it's just been really cool to see. I wanted to write a kind of historical war fiction since university. I specialized in my last year of university. I specialized in the Third Reich and obviously Nazis and things like that. So, and studying the Second World War and stuff, I've always wanted to do something like this, and for it to take off the way it has done has been fantastic.
It's a really interesting setting in terms of where, and also it ties in with the title, because I'm quite a bit of a history buff as well, really into my World War II stuff. And Stalingrad is probably the closest that we've ever gotten to hell on earth in terms of kind of, battles during World War II. Probably one of the bloodiest battles from, as far as I can remember, August 42 through to about February the following year. So across kind of from late summer into across winter, 2 million people dead.
Yeah.
To and fro in between the Germans and the Soviets. The
line would be blurred. You know what I mean? The line was blurred entirely. You know what I mean? Nobody knew where they were fighting over rooms in houses. It became that intense.
The place had been leveled by the Luftwaffe.
Yeah.
So it was just rubble, basically, they were fighting, and nowhere to actually kind of stay. We've just lost.
That's amazing. He's back. I was going to.
I don't know what happened there. But no, the place had been leveled. I'm here. Place had been leveled, you know what I mean, and stuff, and everything. So it was a horrendous battle, absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. What's it?
The idea of hell on earth at that time, effectively becoming hell on earth. And to be honest with you, I mean, we made a point to say on the Kickstarter, we don't particularly have a horse in the race, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like because both sides, obviously both sides have horrendous atrocities kind of like linked to them. And you know what I mean? And stuff with the Russians and the Germans during the period. And so the thing was, it's kind of, we just like the idea of throwing together these two hugely opposing ideologies into a situation where they're going to have to try and cooperate under some guise. So like an hour beforehand, these people could have been shooting at one another, and now they're having to deal with something together. It just seemed like a really interesting kind of prospect to kind of work on and stuff. And I mean, like I've written a short which was potentially going to go into a horror anthology that I co-write. There's stuff like that, which is set in Leningrad during the siege and things like that. You know what I mean? And there's an idea for a kind of follow-up to Hell in Stalingrad as well. Like set in the same world, but not following on with that. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself.
It is one of the craziest time frames I can think of, and certainly you were kind enough to let us get a sneak peek into the first couple of chapters. I think that's reflected on just about every level within the work you've done. The art's very bleak. Obviously, it starts off purely black and white until a key point, and then there's some quite insane splashes of color. It creates this otherworldly element, which is quite incredible. It's an amazing achievement. The art's pretty fabulous. I also thought there was particularly in the first couple of pages, there was a really interesting thing about, I think, a really good wee bit of scene set and dialogue when they're discussing. One of the characters is clearly disgruntled with following Hitler's lead, in that he doesn't view him as much of a leader, and then there's a brief discussion about how they're going to how morale's been lifted by trying to make sausages out of one of the horses.
Yeah. To be fair, that wasn't lifted, but that was kind of inspired from. There's a really good book about it. I say really good. It's harrowing, but if you're interested in it, you want to read about Anthony Beevor's Stalingrad. They talk about that. They talk about the fact that they did butcher the horses for sausages, things like that. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff to try and keep people going.
Yeah.
Because obviously they couldn't get supplies in. You know, there was promises from kind of high command all the time. We'll airlift you so many 100,000 tons of supplies, and it never came. It never turned up. And then again, because the line shifted so much, whenever there were supplies dropped, those supplies often ended up in enemy territory and were taken by, you know, things like that. So it really was like, for me, it was trying to kind of understand the desperation of the point that people are in. They talked about a thing called Kessel fever, which was basically, I think it was driving the Germans mad. There were Germans going, because of the strain and the stress of the situation they were under and the absolute lack of support from their kind of high command and stuff like that, and their logistics, the logistics divisions and stuff like that. It's a case of people were going insane because of it, you know. And so we want to kind of take elements of that and add the supernatural to it, you know what I mean, and kind of see where it kind of would take us and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like that. Like I said, that's a lot of the inspiration for it. That's a lot of the kind of thing for it.
So horror is definitely something that you seem to relish in, from my understanding.
I do. Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us a wee bit about your previous work and kind of
what
you're working in?
Well, so like when I started out writing comics, I started out writing kind of I wanted to put my own kind of slant on things, which is, I'm not a particularly serious person. If people follow me on Twitter, you'll see like that with the kind of stuff I put and things like that. I'm not a particularly serious person. I haven't set out to write Watchmen as my first comic, you know what I mean, or things like that. Started out writing shorts. My friend and I, Mike Sambrook, we started writing short comics, and they were always we tried to put a comedic slant on it and stuff like that. So we started out there, and that was like we take horror elements or sci-fi or fantasy and mix comedy into it. There's a fantasy story we've written which is based around the works of the soft rock band Marillion. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So like we write really weird kind of niche stuff to start with, but horror was always really fun. Because horror, I genuinely enjoy scaring people, and I think it's great. And I like to kind of make it so people kind of feel uneasy and stuff like that with the writing that I do. And it's something that I've always really loved as well. I've always loved horror. Big Stephen King fan, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But I'm a big Stephen King fan and a big Terry Pratchett fan. So like trying to marry the two together has kind of gone along. But yeah, sorry, go on.
We spoke to John Lees a couple of weeks ago. I know that, we spoke to somebody else quite recently about this kind of point as well, about that kind of, the lines between horror and comedy kind of it's very thin, and that a lot of horror can be quite farcical, and a lot of comedy can be a lot of comedy can delve into, you know, in order for a punchline to hit the mark, it has to be quite dark. And
it seems it's fun to try and tread the two, I suppose. But from doing the short stories, because Mike and I really enjoyed doing the horror kind of stuff, we got together with a group of fantastic artists, people like Alistair Wood, Gareth Slayton, Neil Ford. We decided to create our own horror comic in the vein of like eerie and creepy and stuff like that. And so we created something called Tragic Tales of Horror, but horror spelled in the Old English way, because of course we had to be weird and stuff. And so we did those, and there we've done Bigfoot stories, done ghost stories. We have an ongoing throughout the first couple of issues of horror, which is about a kind of it starts off with a demonic baby in a bell jar. And just kind of go, and there's kind of like weird traveling circuses and things like that involved. It's a very strange one, and that's got like, we've got plans to take it else, you know what I mean, take it further and stuff like that. But yeah, horror is something I've always loved, and then obviously the supernatural as well, and that kind of leans into another series that Mike and I have co-written called Griff Gristle. and Griff Gristle is the last line of defense against the dark monsters of the deep. Think John Constantine mixed with Quint from Jaws, right? Soaked in all the whiskey, right? And so, yeah, with an added dollop of like 80s new wave and punk music as his kind of backdrop and stuff. So, yeah, horror definitely has always been like a kind of go-to thing for me because, yeah, I enjoy scaring people. And like you said, sometimes horror can be that scary, it can be farcical. You know what I mean? And that's always quite a fun element to work on. And, yeah, like I say, it's always, I just find it a lot of fun to do. To be fair, a lot of fun to write horror and stuff.
And stuff. That's awesome, man. So I'll put the links to your Kickstarter. I'll put them in.
Okay.
I'll put them in the show notes as we go. Is there if people want to follow you or to find out more about your work, where can they go?
Okay, well, if you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at robjoneswrites. Although I mainly talk about lettering because I do a lot of lettering for other people as well, lettering comics and stuff like that. Or if you want to kind of follow the comics we do, it's Madius Comics, MADIUS Comics, Madius Comics, on Twitter and on Facebook. Find us all on there. And we kind of keep things up to date on there. We keep, we share kind of in progress stuff and things like that as well. So you can find me there and shout nonsense at me into the void.
So you were saying you've got just under 2 days left on the Kickstarter, pretty much this weekend.
Yeah, that's it. This weekend I'm working all weekend, which is going to be a pain in the backside. So Matt Hardy, who, like I say, has co-written it. And stuff. He's going to be kind of manning the fort for the last 2 days, which should be fun and stuff. So yeah.
So if a bit of a kind of war comics mixed with a bit of supernatural is your thing, then get across the Kickstarter this weekend and check it out.
Please do. Yes, please do. We've hit, like I say, pretty much every stretch goal that we've set. We don't know what else. To kind of do.
You're going to get a nice reward package as if you back the Kickstarter.
Yeah, we've got digital stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're worried about Persian figure, like digital backers get the book. They can get the book and an art book. They can get a digital set, which includes 500 pages of comics from myself and Matt. So you get stuff from Madius and Matt Hardy's Mad Robot Comics as well. We've got a digital art book. Like I said, we've been doing like little kind of behind the scenes videos, which are going to compile into one. Everybody gets that too. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be sending out. If you want to back digitally, there's plenty of options there for you, or physically as well. So yeah, back us.
Superb. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you for having me.
No, and we'll speak to you soon, pal.
Definitely. You guys take care.
You as well.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. All right. Cheers.
That was nice. It was nice. So yeah, I actually meant to tell the story when Rob was still with us, but I was trying to. I've got a wee bit of a competition in my mind where Colin has been in the comic scene a wee bit longer than I have, so he knows some really, really interesting people, which makes attaining some really, really awesome guests like Rob and John Lees and some really interesting people, and our next guest as well, Adam. It makes it. I think he finds it easier to get guests than I do. So I go off and try and like find somebody I think is really, really interesting and try and like. And I'd contacted Rob, but you already had contacted Rob. So for a wee while there, Rob was getting you and me talking to him. I don't know if you ever realised that's what was happening.
No, Jeff, in my mind, there's no competition at all. Yeah. I'm winning.
Yeah. Molly Mack on our I don't know what this is in relation to, but Molly Mack keeps telling me the truth is out there in our comments. So yeah, it's thanks. So in the research that I did for our next guest, I read a lot of stuff that he has on Comic House, and in a cool little segue kind of link, Rob, the last piece that I read of Adam's, Rob had done lettering on, which was really, really interesting. So which if anyone's reading Comic House or has a Comic House account, I totally recommend the Good for Nothing anthology. I really enjoyed it, and I will be reviewing it in our show that we do after this one on the Brewgooders Facebook. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce Adam and let Colin have a wee chat. Hey.
How you doing, fellas? You good?
Hello, Adam. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, good to see you. Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So, Adam, we met about a year ago, more than a year ago, back at Edinburgh Comic Con, wasn't it?
Yeah. We were table pals, table buddies.
We were table pals. Yeah, we absolutely were. And Jeff, Adam, and I are in the smallest, most exclusive club in the world, and we are the two kind of members. We kind of have a half member, my daughter as well, of the UK Buffy Summers fan club.
Wow.
It's a piece of artwork that Adam sent to me some time ago.
I can't believe you still got it. I completely forgot. I completely forgot about it.
It was slipped in with something you sent me ages ago. It's pride of place. I even have some artwork, some fragment artwork.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Up on the wall here. So we'll get to your Kickstarter, which isn't even started yet, but we'll get to that soon. But you've done kind of lots of comics and stuff. And another kind of bizarre link is you did this Jack Kirby tribute last year. You Kickstarted this, didn't you?
No, I just put that out and then.
I couldn't remember if you had or not. Yeah, and you got lots of artists to do kind of Kirby tributes and stuff, and it's amazing stuff because it's like I don't know 20 different people doing different Kirby-esque style stuff. But one of them, if I find it, this one here of Thor, is Craig, who has done some artwork on one of my comics as well. In fact, he lives not far from me. He lives nearby.
Nice. Yeah, Craig's a good guy.
Yeah, he does some amazing stuff, and yet he doesn't kind of show it off enough, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
So there's another kind of little link there. But I think one of my first books that I'd read of yours was The Fragment.
That was the first proper comic I kind of put out, I think. Going back, it's always hard to look at this stuff now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely. But it shows off your artwork style, that kind of retro comic style with the kind of bendy dots, the screen print dots, and the limited colours palette, which is something that's continued through a lot of your work. So tell us, how did that come about?
Yeah, that kind of stuck really. I mean, that was like I couldn't colour things very well, and then so the sort of the screen tones and the old print effects sort of masked the fact that I couldn't colour things. Well, the stuff I coloured at the time didn't look that great, and it's kind of accidentally sort of stuck. But I do like it. I've grown. Like it's kind of me now. I guess it would be hard to deviate away from that, but it came away by accident because I was trying to colour. I think you alluded to the Good for Nothing anthology, which is the first thing I ever put out, and I was colouring that, and the first story is about some aliens on Mars, and that was all coloured sort of normal, sort of what you would say normal colours, until I didn't think it looked very good. So then I had a copy of Ed Piscor's X-Men Grand Design, if you've ever seen that. Next to it was sort of there for like reference. And I thought, I'll try that, and maybe that'll like add a little something. It did, and then I carried it on, and I've never stopped doing it really.
And although you've kind of kept that style, you do occasionally do kind of bizarre and kind of experimental stuff. And I'm just going to say, see when this dropped through my door at Christmas time, I was a bit concerned. Where's the music coming from?
Okay. I'm trying to load something and an advert popped up. Sorry.
All right. No. No worries. Yeah, I mean, when I was saying that the comic books are sometimes experimental, I didn't mean they had music built into them.
Yeah, as soon as you lifted it up and popped it on the screen, the music starts. It's got its own theme tune.
So yeah, this was kind of bizarre things. Receiving this through the post at Christmas time, and I was thinking, what the heck has somebody sent me? But it's a fantastic little story. I think it's called Seaton's Library. Is that right?
It is called Satan's Library, yeah.
Hidden. And it's really coolly put together. It's a lovely little story of a lad who's interested in comics. He sees this advert, it's the style of kind of the old comics, isn't it? For Satan's Library, and he obviously goes on the bus to this kind of little comic shop up a kind of dark alleyway, and he finds this comic called Kaiju Man. And interestingly, you've kind of inserted the comic into the main book, which is really cool. So you get this little mini comic book, and then later on he gets introduced to another comic called Brain Reel, which forms the other part of which you've kind of somehow stapled together, and that's really inventive. I thought that was really a cool thing.
Oh, thank you, man.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was a bit expensive. I was doing some that was inspired by like a trip to the States sort of last October, I think. And in the summer, I was doing like another sort of Kirby-esque, like a Nova ripoff, and I penciled and inked about 24 pages of that, and my plan was to always take it. I loaded it all on my iPad to colour, and then I was going to colour it while I was away, like in hotels and stuff. And I was going to all these sort of comic shops, not too dissimilar to the shop the boy visits in Satan's Library. And I was seeing all these cool things like Brain Reel, and I was like, the book I'm kind of colouring when I go back to my hotel, it's like, it's not very good, like compared to like this cool stuff. So then I completely like got rid of that. No one's ever seen that. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's probably not terrible, but that was shelved. And then I came back home and made Satan's Library.
Well, amazing! It's a great wee book. I really enjoyed that. It was an unusual kind of Christmas present, I have to say.
You're welcome.
So anyway, that's all passed. More recently, you did Atomic Hercules. I think you've got 2 issues of that out, and that's a kind of, again, a retro superhero kind of book. But let's talk about the most recent book that's coming out on Kickstarter tomorrow, because it's a collaboration with Fraser Campbell, who we had on the show 2 or 3 weeks back as well. So tell us a little bit about that, Adam.
Well, the book's called Knockout and Tiger Star. It's a bit of a sort of 70s throwback. I mean, it's a Power Man and Iron Fist rip-off, really. We're not ashamed to say, but the idea was that I was gonna this time last year was to make a line of sort of 70s inspired Bronze Age comics. One of those was Atomic Hercules, which ended up sort of skewing off and being not very Bronze Age at all. But the other person I did ask was Fraser to come up with like a 70s Marvel book. And then so he agreed, which was great because I'm a big fan of his. I love his stuff, and I love Alex Automatic and his stuff with Ian in Laurie. So he sort of went off and wrote that while I drew 2 issues of Atomic Hercules. And then once they were done, he sent me this script back, and it was it's just, I mean, I've got to say, it's just so 70s. It's just basically about these 2 guys, Knockout and Tiger Star, and they're part of an underground illegal fighting ring, and they join together against their own will to look for some children who are going missing, and it seems like they might be joining this illegal fighting ring, but once they get there and they have to work their way through the circuit, the illegal underground fighting circuit, they end up they're chewing off more than they can handle, should we say. But yeah, it's I've gone really retro again. Fraser's gone super retro, and it reads just like a book from 45, 50 years ago.
Well, let's face it, Fraser lived through the 70s and he's still wearing his flared trousers and those shirts with the big pointy collars, you know.
I like to think so.
Well, I like to think so too. He's a class guy. So this comes out, this is on Kickstarter tomorrow, so it's not live just yet, is that right?
Yeah, so Friday, I think it's 6 p.m. UK time, it's going live, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
George saying that was it you and Fraser, it's an instant back. So
nice. Thanks in advance, Rob. Cheers, man.
So is the book well underway, or is it not
yeah,
started,
I've got I think I may have like three or four pages left to colour, and then it's done. All
right.
The Kickstarter run's a little shorter. I mean, I don't really like doing the 30-day Kickstarters. I think they go on about 2 weeks too long. So I think this one is about 16 days. So one, as like the two Kickstarters for Atomic Hercules, once after the 16 days, and then when the Kickstarter money comes through, it will go straight to the printers and be through letterboxes a couple of weeks after that.
Oh, that's always good to know, because as we know, some Kickstarters can kind of go on, and you know, a surprise 9 months later you get something through your letterbox. So expect it soon.
Sometimes you still get surveys filled in a little while later, and that
oh yeah,
that one. I mean, people are busy; it's not their fault. But you think you've boxed that off, and you think, right, that's done. I don't have to worry about that. And then you get the email for another survey's been filled out. Oh, it's not finished yet.
Yeah, I totally. I've got a stack of stuff on the shelf there that's you know, ready to go, but I don't have any addresses to send it to you.
Yeah.
So someday, you know, and I'll fill it in. In fact, I had one just this week. It was for a Kickstarter about a year ago. Came in, so another happy customer now.
Yeah.
So beyond this, what plans have you got? Are you doing anything else? More Atomic Hercules?
Yeah, more stuff with Tony. Me and Tony live in the same town, so we end up meeting up a couple of times a week and speak on the phone every day, really. So we're always bouncing ideas off each other. So there's more Atomic Hercules planned for towards the end of the year. And then I'm working on some other books now, which will probably be out by sort of October time. So after this one, I'm aiming for 2 more books, and then into next year, really more stuff with Tony.
Okay, superb. Jeff, you anything to ask?
Just I wanted to know where like a lot of your ideas come from. It's my understanding that a lot, particularly the anthology thing you put together, was written by you. And there was there was one story in there particularly that I found really interesting about the alien family and the thing with the satellite and stuff like that. That's something I really find quite interesting. This idea that just that kind of like how human interaction would affect the alien rather than or the other way around. And I find that story particularly interesting because you're approaching quite an interesting situation, this idea of first contact, but from the perspective of the other side of you know, that traditional I think that particularly in that anthology, there's just such a conglomeration of like of quite exciting ideas that could all run. You could run a whole comic based on any of them. I just want to know where that kind of. I want to know where you got your ideas from.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. That one, I made that anthology because I was struggling to come up with an idea that I thought could last 24 or 28 pages. Mm-hmm. So, but I did have like these little sentences about like the alien story that I just picked up. So the alien story actually came from a news report that I heard in the car, and it was about they'd found water on Mars, or they thought they had. I don't think they actually did. But then my first thought was, if they did, and we've been going there for some time, where's it been all this time? And then that's where I thought of maybe there are aliens, but when we arrive with our satellites, they just leave or they hide and we don't see them. Maybe there is stuff up there that we can't see because they don't want us to. And so that was that story. So I don't know. I guess that was from the radio. I guess some little sort of snippets of information where your mind sort of goes to maybe other things. It doesn't happen all the time, you know. These are sort of one-off little things where you just think, oh, that's interesting, and you write it down, and then you come back. But like I say, stuff like that. I mean, I didn't think I could flesh that out for another 20 pages, but it was good for 8 pages. I thought I could make that work.
It's just, those 8-page stories are really exciting. Anyway, I find I love an anthology just because you're expecting like a punchline essentially by the end of it. I just thought that one in particular had a really it was quite an effective punchline. I just wanted to know where you got some of your ideas from. I think that's quite amazing.
Yeah, just like so. I think the second story is about the homeless guy, and that was like that's basically like, for anyone who hasn't read it, it's like just like a homeless guy who just lives a great life but being homeless and kind of being like a spy, like ex-CIA. And then I thought, because I've always thought like people are always like tied down to like jobs or sort of debts or, you know, making payments of money and all and that's not a problem for all the issues that being homeless brings. That isn't one of them. So what if you had the skills to break into a beautiful mansion every evening? How great would it be to be homeless? And that was just that was another crazy sort of, you know, little 8-pager that I put in there. And that was what the anthology was about, really. It was like I had some little ideas, little punchlines. Like, I think that's a great little thing to call them, because I didn't think they, you know, I couldn't be bothered is not the right word, but, you know, I couldn't be bothered to think of like subplots and this and that. But I did have a little sort of slither of the story, and I put 3 of those together, and that made that book essentially, because I didn't have a better idea at the time that I thought, you know, this is like I could carry this on for an issue or 2.
That's cool. So I'm getting massively distracted by as you're chatting, I always try and edit stuff and bounce things in, but we're getting spammed a wee bit. Our folk keep asking me how much a couch is. I'm not even joking. That's the thing. Yeah. So if people are interested, obviously I've got your Twitter handle there. Is it called a Twitter handle, Colin?
I think so. We've coined that phrase if it doesn't exist.
And Colin's the Twitter guy. I don't really know what the @ thing is called, but where else could people go if they want to see some of your work?
Yeah, I think I'm probably most active on Instagram, which is the same, at Adam Falp, or my website, adamfalp.com, or most of my books come out through mine and Tony's imprint, Tribute Press, and that's tribute-press.com.
Superb. So hopefully lots of people will go and check out your Kickstarter, which is in about 20 hours time, something like that. It'll be going live.
I'll put the link in our thing as well, so that everyone knows where to go.
Yeah. So nice to see you again, Adam, and good luck with your collaboration with Fraser. I'm sure it will go well.
I appreciate you having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
We'll speak to you soon.
Yeah. We'll
cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
All right. Cheers, Adam.
Thanks, man.
I don't know how much the couch is. I don't know what they're talking about, Colin. I feel like
there's no couch here. Yeah. I don't know what yeah, I could do with the couch. It'd be nice to kind of sit back on the couch.
I'm really glad that you managed to get Adam on the show, because I think it was maybe issue episode 1, 2, or 3-ish of when we first started was when you reviewed the fragment, and I thought it was quite interesting there when Adam was saying about his art style and his color and the worry that he had with that, because I actually think that's one of, in my opinion, is one of the aspects of particularly that comic I love.
Absolutely, I think so. It's very recognisable, but it is noticeable also how his art style has changed a little bit, tightened up perhaps over the past year or so. Yeah, it's amazing who you bump into at Comic Cons.
Yeah.
So when they start up again next year, it's going to be awesome. So Jeff, you'll know lots of people from Comic Cons, and you'll chat with them.
I'm feeling like I pulled a slight blinder on my part for next week. Now, obviously, you're not going to be with us next week.
I'm not.
Which I'm sad to see, and I am, as the less charismatic one of the two of us, quite anxious. But I'm on this sort of discussion of meeting folk at cons. One of my favourite comic writers and comic artists who will be joining me next week to have a chat about some of his work. That's James Lawrence, who does the La Mariposa stuff. I've reviewed James's work on multiple occasions on our show, and I think it was when I was on my shortlist. The La Mariposa, the Demon Gauntlet graphic novel that came out late last year was on my shortlist. It slipped in as one of my comics of the year, like in the last week or two of 2019. So I'm really excited to get James on to chat about his work in La Mariposa. And
it's a kind of a bit of a superhero wrestler character.
It's exactly that. So because I've noticed that it's a bit creepy. It's exactly that. I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm a big superhero fan, and it's an amazing blend of the two. It's the kind of idea that the lucha libre kind of Mexican wrestling culture that's kind of based on legend and spirits and sort of families handing down legacies. You know, if the sort of mystical element of that was real. It's just really good and really funny, and it's one of my favourite comic series ever. And the fact that we've got James on next week is quite exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a little bit jealous because I really liked his stuff as well. And well, I'll catch up with the recording.
I hope so.
I'm back.
I hope it's all right.
And then I'll just have to really pull out all the stops to get an amazing guest for the week after or the week after.
Yeah, do that, or just maybe when I'm on the show and then sort that out. So if you want to join us in the next 5-10 minutes over on the Brewgooders, which you can find at, where's it? That one.
Facebook.com/the Brewgooders.
Yeah. If you look for it at the Brewgooders on Facebook, you will find us. We're going to do a wee review of beer and comics. I'm doing a crazy run on Sunday, so I'm actually off the drink. So I won't be reviewing any beer this week. That's solely in your hands.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to be reviewing Plunge, which is just.
Oh yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's part of the Hill House comics from Joe Hill's Hill House comics. I'm just going to talk about that. It's great. What are you going to be talking about, Colin?
I'm going to have a little look at Mercy, which is out on Image. It's issue 3 is out just this last week, I think it was. So it's kind of halfway through its run. So I'm going to be talking about that.
Awesome, cool. So at the Brewgooders in about 5-10 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone that tuned in over the week. Last week, more people watched us in the last week than has ever watched us before. So nice to see.
Thanks, Comics Casters.
And
we'll catch you again, or Jeff will catch you again next week.
Yeah, awesome. Cheers.